Hello and welcome to Low Carb Mag's look at the best vlogs around. Today I'm joined by Rachel Zinman, who is, among other things, a very experienced yoga practitioner and low carb addict as well. Rachel, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm great, thank you. Happy in South Africa.
Super job, super job. So Rachel, you are somewhere in South Africa. Whereabouts are you today?
I'm actually in a place called the Crags, which is just outside of Plettenberg Bay, which is along the Garden Route in South Africa.
And I understand you also work in Australia and the States as well.
I work everywhere. I teach yoga internationally. I teach in Australia, I teach in Japan, I teach in Bali, India, Europe, wherever anyone will have me, that's where I go.
Okay, but you also blog about yoga as well, don't you?
I have two blogs. So I have a blog about yoga and my yoga experiences, and then I have a blog which I'm really passionate about, which is about yoga for diabetes.
Oh, right. Let's dive straight into that. Why have you got, as a yoga practitioner, why have you got a blog with doing yoga for diabetes?
Well, basically, in 2008, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So I was 42 at the time, and I'd been doing yoga since I was 17. So it was just an absolute complete shock to me that I contracted diabetes, especially type 1. And I went through quite a process of coming to terms with my diagnosis, and finally, after 6 years of trying everything I could to not realize that yoga had really helped me to manage my diabetes. And I thought, look, maybe I can help others the way I was able to help myself.
Excellent. So who have you got in mind then when you're writing articles and so forth for blog?
Well, I think a lot about people who are really into fitness. They've always wanted to do yoga or wanted to try yoga. They're living with diabetes. They might be stay-at-home moms. They might be people who are, working really hard. They might be people who are just into fitness in general but want more stress release. And those are the sort of people that I think I can really help. But the way that I teach is to really go from a beginner level to a more, advanced fitness level, and that I can meet the person wherever they are at, depending on, what their needs are and also what type of diabetes they have. So you could have type 1 diabetes, but you could also have type 2 diabetes, and the yoga would be really relevant in helping you manage the disease.
Excellent. But you say it can help manage the disease. How does it help, just out of interest?
Okay, well, it helps to make you more sensitive to the insulin that if you're type 2, you're already producing, or if you're type 1, to the insulin that you're injecting. And that happens because you're working with the muscles and making the muscles stronger in the body. So, whenever we're working our muscles, we become more insulin sensitive. One of the biggest things is stress reduction. Because what happens obviously with diabetes is you're dealing with a lot of stress. Your body's going into highs, it's going into lows. You're constantly trying to manage it. And yoga is all about stress release through moving the body, through the postures, through focusing on the breath, calming the mind. It's just a really wonderful way to deal with all the things that come towards you. It promotes better sleep. It helps you to lose weight. I mean, there's just so many benefits. It oxygenates the blood. It improves digestion. Just whatever you can think of that you need help with when you're living with diabetes, yoga is sort of there to meet that. The one thing it doesn't do is it doesn't revive beta cells, but it can do everything else.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Obviously, with all those things you've just mentioned, you must have a lot of information on there. Who do you have in mind when you're writing the different articles?
Well, it just depends on what I choose to write about. So sometimes I write about, I'm actually giving postures and sequences for people to do. So that might be someone who's really looking to incorporate yoga into their lives. Other times I might be writing more of an emotional piece about my relationship to diabetes, how I feel about it, how I cope with it. And that might be someone who's going through mental and emotional struggles with their diabetes. And sometimes I just, write a little bit about, what's happening in the diabetes world or in the diabetes community, or how I travel with diabetes. Just whoever's looking to find out more about how to manage their diabetes better. So it's a huge age range. It can be a young person. It could be an older person. It's not like I have like a really specific target audience, because there's 400 million people living with diabetes. So that's a lot of people who are, wanting to find ways to manage their situation. And as I said, so, obviously someone who's more attracted to yoga is going to be more attracted to what I have to offer, because I'm always going to look through the lens of my yoga practice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, having mentioned all those things, are there a certain subgroup of people who have diabetes who you can help more than others?
Yeah, I think when I think about it, for me, it's people who are specifically interested in yoga and healthy living, healthy lifestyle, people who've got, who are keen to get fit through yoga, get fit and healthy. I often think, of my audience as being women, mothers with kids, sometimes parents with children who have diabetes, because they get so stressed dealing with that. I have quite a few friends whose children are living with type 1, and for them, a yoga class just takes their mind off all the things that they have to, because the parent is managing the diabetes just as much as the child is dealing with the diabetes, and that stress comes up as well. So I guess for me, the target audience is often, people who can relate to someone like me, who's gone through the experiences that I have. So there are people who are diagnosed with diabetes when they're very young, and now they're adults. And then there are people like me who were diagnosed late onset. I have LADA, which is latent autoimmune disease in adults, or latent adult diabetes, whatever. And people like us who sort of got shocked into it, and maybe, I can really help them to come to terms with how they feel about their diabetes as well, because I've really had to come to terms with my own experience of it.
And I know to augment the yoga, you've also switched to a low-carb diet as well. How have you found that help?
Yeah, so I went from low glycemic foods, and then eventually, I couldn't control my blood sugars with that anymore. Then it was suggested to me that I go on a low-carb diet, and I slowly started eliminating the carbs, and eventually just went into, a very simple diet of nuts and seeds and, avocados and green leafy vegetables and vegetables that grow above the ground. And I got into a really, balanced routine with that. And then I found that, when I test my blood sugars, they really stay in such a narrow range. I mean, I don't really get a high, and I don't really get and I never have a low. I'm always kind of just in that, acceptable range. And I have so much energy to do all the work that I have to do, because I travel internationally. I have to carry all my diabetes supplies with me. I have to have everything manageable, including my diet. And I've just found that sticking to this low carb diet, I probably don't have more than, 40 to 50 carbs in a day, really just gives me so much energy. It, keeps me stable. And I just feel so inspired by it. And there's so many things you can do. You're not limited. A lot of people say to me, don't you feel really limited? And I say, no, because I can create magic out of an avocado. I can create magic out of I can make a muffin out of anything, It's like, and I can really, enjoy the foods that I can eat. So, yeah. So I'm a huge low carb fan. And often when I meet people who are struggling with their management, that might be the first thing I say to them is like, what is your diet? Have you looked at your diet? And then I might say, and have you tried yoga?
Super job, super job. So all this information is on your blog. Can you give us the name of your blog again?
Yeah, so my blog is www.yogaforddiabetesblog.com.
And are you on social media as well?
Yes, I am. And if you just look for Yoga for Diabetes blog, or actually, if you just look for Yoga for Diabetes, you'll find that on Facebook, and on Instagram, I'm Yoga for Diabetes blog. And I'm also on Pinterest as Yoga for Diabetes. So I'm basically everywhere you look, you just go Yoga for Diabetes or Yoga for Diabetes blog, and you'll find me.
Excellent. Well, so it's just a quick chat today, just to let people know more about what you do and where they can find you. So thank you for taking the time to chat to us.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to a more in-depth chat with you sometime later on.
All right. Awesome. Me too. Thank you.